everything that I thought I wanted felt like it was being stripped away. Like it felt like all these onion layers just being pulled back, pulled back, pulled back. And that's really where it got me to the point of complete surrender. Sometimes we forget that our prayers are being answered, our exact prayers that we've been praying are being answered, and we reject the answers to our prayers. But I understand, the power of sitting back and just being still, and being patient with the whole process of knowing that you have to learn some things in a season in order to get there, and it doesn't mean that, it's a denial or rejection. It just means that it's not the time yet. The road to success or the road to the top, isn't meant to be a solo run. Successes are just greater when it's shared.
On this week's show, we bring you Candice Tubera, founder of the women's organization, WOW, Winning with Other Women. Candice is a certified life and business coach who discovered she had to give up her own plans to serve a higher purpose. In this episode, she reflects on the power of sitting back and being still, walking in the realm of purpose, and she also reveals her lowest moment, refusing to play victim, instead using it as a challenge to elevate herself to a higher place. Candice is a graduate and active member of American Real Live Tribe Worldwide, our private Facebook group, where she and countless others from around the world connect and strive to become their best self. Speaking of which, if you are looking to learn more about the power of live video and how it can help you propel you or your business, join our Live Tribe group today and take the first 21-day challenge absolutely free. This program will help you to become more proficient in live video, but it will also boost your confidence, challenge your commitment, and allow you to become more authentic and transparent. Click on the link below and start your 21-day challenge and experience today. And now, without further ado, I bring to you Candice Tubera. This is American Real. I am Roger Brooks. My guest today is Candice Tubera, who discovered that there comes a point in life that you have to give up on your own plans for a higher purpose. You are a certified life and business coach and have founded a women's organization and a nonprofit organization. It's through this work that you found your passion to empower, mentor, and inspire others. Candice, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
This is great. Thanks for being here.
Yes, I'm excited.
Yeah, and you come a long way. You live in the San Francisco Bay Area, correct?
Yes.
And you've been in New York now for what, about a week?
The East Coast for about a week. I've been kind of taking a little tour, Virginia, New York City, and now here.
That's great. And tell us what brings you to the East A little bit of both business and pleasure. My
brother's family just moved from California to Virginia, so I had to see them. Our family is very close-knit family. And then New York City, went to go see my cousin, spend some time there with some family. And then we also I was able to represent our nonprofit organization out there. We did this community service project with the Grand Street Settlement. And we did a little painting workshop for their senior residences there. And then now I'm here, and today I just got done with a brunch event where I was a guest speaker, and now I'm here.
That's great. So you've been busy.
I've been busy. The week has gone by so fast, and I mean, I joked about I felt like I've been on every single type of transportation there is on the East Coast. So yeah.
Well, that's great, and we're so glad to have you here. We actually met through our Live Tribe group,
yes,
which someone connected you to us, and I don't recall who it was exactly.
Yes.
Was it
Pika?
Pika, yes. Pika is that connector.
Yes.
From Singapore.
Yes. Yes. She's, I mean, a wealth of resources, and her brain is always thinking about people.
Yes.
You know, the connections. Wow, you would be great to meet this person. So it's always great to have a friend like that.
No doubt, no doubt. And before we get into your story, if you wouldn't mind, tell us about your experience with the Live Tribe.
It has been fun. I mean, live videos are never easy, or it's never like a comfort zone for most people. And, you know, I love challenges. So when I saw the 21-day challenge, I was like, okay, let's see if I can do this. For me, it was more about the consistency, right? And, you know, when anything that you do in 21 days and, you know, becomes a habit. And so I started off and made sure, even if the video was filming like, you know, 5 minutes before midnight or whatever, but it's, you kind of feel empowered, like, wow, I did that. I was consistent. And if I can be consistent with that, what else can I do consistently? And, you know, your videos, I think, start to change, you know, or you start to get a little bit more comfortable with yourself and confident about yourself, and you start to be vulnerable and really talk about your stories or things that, you know, happen during that day, and you really let your heart show, and it's a community behind it. You know, people are watching your videos, and you build bonds. I mean, I've met people through American Reel and the Live Tribe, and you know, supporting each other through our life journeys. And it's just, you know, definitely recommend it to anybody. I mean, it's more than just putting a video up, your 1-minute video. You never know that self-development, that self-growth, and what you learn about yourself doing it.
And for people that have a hard time with video in general, I know a lot of people are intimidated. What advice would you have for them to do something like this? I mean, number one, it's a private group, which we love, but what advice would you have for those people that are just afraid to push that live button? To
just do it. I mean, we've all experienced things in life, and we definitely get to for me, I got to a place where I realized, wow, most of my experience have nothing to do with me and myself. It has to do with how can this be my life message? How can this story inspire somebody else? And, you know, when you share your little stories, whether it's, you know, a minute clip of your heart and opening up your heart, you're healing through your own stories. You're inspiring and healing somebody else. I mean, it might not be going through the same exact situation or story, but it's somebody looking at you going, wow, if they could do that, then I'm pretty sure that I can do that. You know, and then it's building that support system for each other. Yeah, and you mentioned that it is a good support system, and that there's people all over the world, right, that are part of this group. Yes. And the connections that you're able to make, it's pretty remarkable. I'm actually in awe of what has come out of it. Right. You know, I had no idea that this amount of people would you know, take on to the idea of it. Exactly. And it's just great to have you part of it. It's great to learn not only and meet people through the group, but then have a chance, like right now, to sit down and have a conversation to go even deeper. Right. So we could get into your story
and learn more about you
Right.
and your journey.
It's remarkable to give people a platform for their voice to be heard, and not many people know that that's something that they ever wanted to do. But I mean, you're just touching lives and inspiring lives throughout the world, of just giving people this platform to be heard.
Yeah.
So it's amazing at what you're doing.
Great. Well, thank you for being part of it.
Yes.
So let's shift gears a little
Okay.
bit and talk about your story. Tell us, for starters, a little bit about your background.
A little bit. So, like you said, I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area, from a little town about 50 miles, I guess, east of San Francisco. I actually lived in the Bay Area pretty much all my life, except for the last few years. I got 2 kids. They're not babies anymore. They're 18 and 14. Married 19 years this year.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. I was a respiratory therapist for over 15 years. About 5-6 years ago, left my career to start our own family business. Saw different lights. I mean, I'd never thought I would ever leave that profession. I thought that was my plan. I was set. I was going to be in cruise control for the rest of my life or till retirement. And I saw a different world as an entrepreneur. The freedom that it gave you, the ability to, really have a better quality of life where you can really enjoy it. Of course, there's the other part of discipline and things like that, but definitely the positives outweighed the negatives of doing it. About 3 years ago, I was in prayer about something so specific about business. And when they tell you to pray intently about whatever you want, that's exactly what I was doing, down to specific details. And for months, I felt like I was being ignored. My prayers weren't being answered, and I was like, how much more specific do you want me to get? I mean, this is a full game plan, a map. This is exactly what I want to happen. And I went through this time of just being not mad, but maybe disappointed. Like, I feel like I'm being let down. Is anybody hearing me? And I went through a few months of that, and then changed my prayer into, well, okay, God, I don't understand what you're doing, but I trust you. So use me for your purpose. Whatever it is, I trust you, just use me. And that's when he started sending me these visions of this women's group, this women's organization. And it's not something I ever thought I would do. I felt like I grew up with all the guys, like my uncles and my cousins, playing video games, throwing footballs or whatever. And so I never had it in my cards of this women's organization. So I kept getting these visions, and I was like, what is this? This is such a distraction to what I really want to do. And I finally just took a leap of faith. I mean, this is after having conversations with old friends and new friends about coming back to this women's group, and I was like, what is this? So finally I sat down, took a leap of faith, wrote down everything as far as the mission statement, named it, did a logo for it, and wrote a list of all the people that I wanted to contact about doing this. So I thought it was, let's get these women together, let's help each other in business, let's rise together, let's create a platform for you to grow. A week before we were going to kick off, it was almost like God kind of mocked me and was like, that's what you think this is going to be about? This has nothing to do with that. Women are going to be drawn to that, yes, for that business aspect, but you're going to help them discover or rediscover their own blessings and use that to bless other people and communities. And that's what I found through this journey of really not knowing all the pieces, of just trusting this vision and being obedient and surrendering my own plans for this purpose that I didn't even know I was walking into. And then really seeing that, wow, through selfless acts, through service, when you get yourself out of the picture and really concentrate on thinking, like, how can I help this person, or how can I help this community get better and rise? your success comes through that, you know. And then it was this shift of this definition of success, and that brings me here, I guess, to today of, you know, just expanding this whole movement of really what we call our cease to increase, you know, giving a part of yourself, whether it be time, money, efforts, experiences, and using it to grow and increase not only yourself, but everybody around you.
Wow. Well, it's remarkable, the story itself. You said a lot there that I'm trying to take in.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind, if we could just break down a few of the things. So first of all, the vision. For someone that's never experienced anything like this, what exactly do you mean when you say a vision? Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I would literally get up in the middle of the night of just like these vivid images and just crystal clear of exactly what would happen and what I needed to do, the people I needed to connect with and contact, and a lot of the times I questioned it, like, what is this? You know, I don't understand what, you know, what, but okay, I mean, I'm just going to trust you. And I remember what I was praying. You know, sometimes we forget that our prayers are being answered. Our exact prayers that we've been praying are being answered, and we reject what the answers to our prayers. So, I mean, I was
because
praying,
it's not what you
right,
expected
it's not what
or
I
wanted.
Expect,
right.
You know, but I was being willing to be open to this new season to walk into, of really not knowing all the pieces. And I think that's what holds people back every once in a while, or a lot of the times, that they don't have the full game plan of like not knowing that this is A, B, C, D, you know, and they don't want to take that first step. Mm-hmm. You know, so you see the difference of people just wanting just to go and not having all the pieces to the puzzle, but let's just learn along the way and see what happens. And it's really been the easiest thing I've ever done.
Wow.
You know, and the most rewarding thing I've ever done.
So let me ask you, because I'm curious, if the vision was something, because it wasn't a vision you said that you ever anticipated, but if it was something completely different than it is now, mm-hmm. do you feel like you would have fouled it? If the vision was empower, you know, I don't know, just say young teens, and, you know, very specific to that, do you feel you would have followed that?
I think I would have. That for me would have been my calling, you know, my purpose and my vision. And I mean, this is one piece, and I can see, like, there's just so much that I see that's coming into the future, and I see all the little dots are connecting now, you know. And
that's so exciting.
It is exciting. And you know, there's things that I've dreamt about and that I've envisioned for years that are still, you know, need to come to pass. But I understand, you know, the power of sitting back and just being still, you know, and being patient with the whole process of knowing that you have to learn some things in a season in order to get there, you know. And it doesn't mean that, you know, it's a denial or rejection. It just means that it's not the time yet. Right. You know, and I've seen that, you know, come into play in the last few years of what it's like just to be patient with the whole process.
Yeah, and I know if you think about it, you know, when we're young, our elders tell us to be patient, mm-hmm. but sometimes we just have to go through, and it's just maturity, and that patience, you know, sits with you. So when you're ready, then you're able to, you know, achieve or right. set out to do the things that you're meant to do. Right.
I mean, we're so, you know, instant gratification. How can we meet our needs or what we want right now? You know, it's such an art form to letting it all happen. You know, and I think when you're walking in this realm of, you know, purpose and a higher calling, the doors open for you that's, I think that's how you know when you're sitting right in that kind of sweet spot of you're like, you even sit back amazed, kind of like thinking, wow, did all of that happen?
Right.
How did that all work out? And I mean, I'm sure that you've probably felt that way with building American Real and everything that you've done in the last year. You know, there's a plan, and you know, that's part of the fun of just seeing how everything unravels and how your story was written.
Right. No, and I like how you say, you know, you have to take that initial risk. Like
Yes.
you can't, everything can't be perfect to start.
Right.
You have to be willing to put yourself out there, take that risk, and just trust.
Yeah.
Right. Trust that things will come in time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, not to get it all mixed up, I never was that type of person. I was definitely the type of person that liked to control everything. I like to know everything that's going on, have my hands on everything, and I really didn't have that trust. Like, I felt like I had to, if it was something needed to be done, it was gonna be on my own doing. I had to build it, I had to learn it, I had to be a part of the entire process. So when all of this started to come about, like, it was huge to be able to, for me, to be obedient. I mean, you can ask my parents, I'm not very obedient, or even ask my husband, and really surrendering my own plans for a purpose. And I think it got to a point where I describe it as like an onion. So during that time when I was like, kind of like in this waiting period, all right, here are my prayers, I'm being intent, I'm gonna do everything I need to do to make this happen. Everything that I thought I wanted felt like it was being stripped away. Like it felt like all these onion layers just being pulled back. And that's really where it got me to the point of complete surrender. All right, you just took everything away. You're not going to make all of this happen. Everything that I built, and why would you bring me here to this point if this wasn't meant for me? Why would you do that? You know, and I mean, these were like intense conversations I was having with God, you know, and so it's not always like this great thing, but it got me to that point where I was like, okay, fine, you want it all, have it all, you know. And having it all meant even me, like I had to really kind of die to my own self, my own selfish needs, my own wants and desires for a destiny that I didn't even know was in my future.
So can you just talk a little bit deeper about this? So what do you mean when you say surrender? What are you doing? I mean, you're just becoming completely selfless?
Really, it's a mental spiritual thing.
Okay.
I mean, like every single day of realizing that.
So your thoughts.
Yes. And really my priorities, my priorities kind of shifted. And I didn't grow up in church. I kind of found my faith, and I found church and kind of these dark moments in my life where, I mean, I didn't really know what I could do or who I could trust, or but it filled a void in my life that I didn't know I had. And so it's all in like my mindset, how I thought, or my perspective of things, of knowing that I don't have to do everything. You know, I don't have to force things. I don't have to make things happen the way that I see fit. But I can live in peace when I'm letting things just be, and just, you know, having faith that, okay, this moment, you know, it might be ugly right now, is serving a purpose. You know, this experience is going to be used as a stepping stone in order to get me to this next point.
And is this what you're talking about when you meet with some of your groups? Are these the topics that you're discussing?
It's a big part of my story, you know, and I mean, I can't share stories of other people. I can only share stories of my own experiences. But I think it's common, because I think that especially as we get older, we start to feel like, wow, is this is what life is going to be all about? There's got to be more. And there comes a time where we yearn for more. We know, wow, life can't be just about the have to. I have to go to work. I have to do this. I have to pay this bill. I have to take care of the kids. I have to take them here. It can't be, there's got to be some joy out of what you do. And really that starts all from within. If you're constantly looking for things or people to make you happy, you're going to be looking for a long, long time. You got to find it within yourself.
Do you have a rock bottom moment?
I do. Probably 2012. Not probably. It was definitely 2012, December. I used to be, I guess, like the big party girl. That's how everybody kind of knew who I was. And was coming home, and the drive from where I was to where I needed to be was probably a 3-minute drive. We had celebrated a good friend's birthday party, we were drinking, got in the car, and drove, thinking, oh, it's a 3-minute drive. I ended up getting pulled over and got a DUI, obviously. At that time, I just thought that was it. Like, I thought that was, that was the end of my life, everything. How am I supposed to put my family through this? The humiliation factor of it. I'm going to lose my job financially. How are we going to pay for all of these legal fees and repercussions? And I really just, kind of just went into this really dark place, to even where I was contemplating taking my own life. And I remember, usually when I watch movies and things like that, usually it's always comedies, and this one night, my husband and I were watching, he turned on the TV, and normally we would have changed what it was, like a Lifetime documentary, or I don't know, something like that. And it was this documentary about a mom that had committed suicide, and they were following the kids. And I would have never watched it. I didn't know what we were watching until maybe 15 minutes in. And I honestly felt like that was an intervention, like a God moment. I don't normally watch that. I mean, I don't even know why our TV was set on that channel, because we never watch anything on that specific network. And that just changed everything for me. That was, nobody else, externally, people around me could have talked me out of what I already had in my head.
But that
was, yeah.
That show did.
That did. And it was more than just the show. I know that was an intervention. That was a God moment to kind of wake me up and shake me up. And it wasn't the end. Following that, yeah, there were things that I obviously had to face the consequences, and things were tough, really tough, difficult days, but it wasn't the end, and I had to get through that and know that I could get through that. And and we do things, it's consequences, right? But it's not our story, it's not our end, and it's not what's going to define me. I'm not going to let that dictate how I live the rest of my life, or live in shame and guilt for the rest of my life. Yeah, I guess the enemy would want us to do that, right. But God had a different plan for me.
Wow. So for people that are listening or watching that may be going through something similar right now, but didn't have that intervention yet, any advice for them? Any words of encouragement?
I think we all go through adversities. We all go through some kind of obstacles and struggles, all in different dimensions, in different ways. But knowing that it's serving a purpose. I truly believe that I'm still going to be discovering what the purpose of this incident was. You know, I knew it shook up my life a lot, that, you know, it made me do career changes and reevaluate my lifestyles. And I mean, it's been 6 years that was the last time I ever drank or anything. And so it really completely turned my life around. And I think if we stop playing victim to no matter what it is that we're going through, and we use it like, okay, I'm going to use this experience to rise up, to be victorious. You know, I'm not going to be the victim, but I'm going to show. It's almost like I said, I like challenges. So it's almost to like show you, like, this isn't going to hold me down. I'm going to use this to step on it and bring me and elevate me higher in life. And, you know, and like I said, I'm still going on a process of figuring out what that is. Mm-hmm. You know, but I know that right now it's not going to be an anchor. You know, so it's cut those ties. Don't let our negative experiences be those anchors in life where it holds us. You're self-limiting yourself of the potential and what you can become despite what you've gone through.
Mm. And it sounds like that's a great example of how we can change, and we can change at whatever moment we want. Right. It doesn't have to be next year or next month or next week, mm-hmm. or after the graduation or whatever it may be. Right. It could be today. Right,
at this given moment. I mean, why have to wait until you hit a rock bottom moment? I mean, a lot of the times, I mean, sometimes as stubborn as we are, we have to hit those rock bottom moments in order to know who our rock is, you know, or to find that rock in our life. But, you know, it does not have to be, you know, like you said, in a milestone.
Right.
In life.
And how do we get past the fact that, you know, a lot of people go back to the way it was, mm-hmm. you know, the old me. You have not. It sounds like you've continued, you know, on this path, mm-hmm. since that day. Where do you find the strength for that? And again, for people that may not have that strength and do fall back into their old ways, what words of advice do you have for them?
I have a good support system, I guess. You know, I mean, there were days, of course, I was tempted. Like, I was like, it's so much easier to go back to an old way, to an old habit, to my old life. It's so much easier because that's all I know. You know, but man, there's got to be a reason why I went through that, and I want to see what it is. You know, and using that experience, like, I can't even say it's like a rock bottom moment anymore. More so, it's like this launching pad moment.
Yes.
You know, where it's just launched me into turning my whole perspective of life around. You know, and having a different perspective of others, of my connections with others, and more importantly of myself, and really finding that love and that longing for my own self without having to, you know, expect it from anything, any substance, or anybody. And, you know, really it's just, that is a whole part of just launching into this life and this season of a purpose and calling, and knowing that there's more to life than the things that try to hold us back, more than the hurdles that we have to jump, more than the obstacles that we go through, the setbacks, are all for, you know, a bigger comeback. And I always see that all of this mess of my life and my past is really now being used to be a message. And I mean, I don't know if it's inspiring anybody. And I mean, it's just my story, you know, but if I can have just one person say, wow, you know, like, I feel that, that, you know, maybe I can go on, maybe I can get through and do something different and not have those anchors on or the cement blocks on my feet, and go and live a life of purpose and impact and do something different, then maybe that's the whole reason why I went through everything. you know, and or why my voice has to be heard was just for that one person.
That's powerful. Were you ever afraid of being judged by your friends, maybe the old friends, or how did that all work out?
Yeah.
Were there friends that you had to leave behind and kind of, as they say, elevate your peer group?
Yes, yes.
'Cause that's hard.
That was probably the hardest, was realizing that. And I mean, it probably was a few years, because, you know, I was fighting it, you know, like trying to change my life, but then remain in the same environment. And it wasn't working. You know, there was just this disconnect, and I felt it. And there was a part of me that was guilty. Like, you know, it's not that I feel like I'm better than anybody else, but just that I want to be better, you know? And so I did. There's relationships, connections changed. But what I started to see was that no matter what, when I would go back to this, I would still have this unshakable confidence that I never had before. Like, wow, I can be me. And if you don't like it, that's fine. But it's me. And the only thing that I need to worry about is, am I happy with me and my decisions and my journey? I mean, a lot of people didn't understand, like, why I was making all these drastic changes in my life, and I realized it wasn't their life to live. You know, sometimes the hardest fight is fighting the resistance of living life to somebody else's expectations, to the judgments and opinions of others. But when it comes down to it, it's your life. You know, they don't really have to walk in your shoes day and night, 24 hours, 7 days a week. It's all up to you. So, I mean, you can't, for me, I could not live in anybody else's expectations but my own. And I mean, that was a journey too, of finding my own expectations of what I wanted out of my own self.
And it sounds like now, because you have the confidence that you're building on this, like it's just starting, right? It's just, it could now blossom.
Yes.
In through your business, through your connections,
Yes.
through all the women you're empowering. And to me, it just feels like this is just the beginning for you.
It does feel like that, you know, and that's what is most exciting, of just knowing, you know. I mean, when I started WOW, our nonprofit organization, I mean, to be quite honest, I was like, I don't even know what this is. I mean, here I am just taking, like I said, leap of faith of not really knowing what is going to come out of this, or what we're going to do, or what it's going to do, or, you know, what it's going to do for me. And I was like, how, you know, I don't understand it, but okay, I'm going to do it. So for a while, I mean, I wouldn't mention it. It was kind of like a secret society kind of thing that I was putting on. And, but then I realized I don't really need to explain myself to anybody. You know, this is the vision that's happening, and it, in the end, it doesn't really matter what anybody thinks or judges or their opinion.
Especially if you feel gratified with what you've done and the people that you're helping are being served.
Correct. That's what it's about. You know, it's not really my work or my message. For me, it's about what God is doing through me and for his people. You know, whether they may be believers or not, I mean, they have no idea that there's still that connection, because I mean, like I said, this is not anything that I ever thought I would be doing, or that I wanted to do. And this new love for people, let alone myself and life, is just like unfolding, and it's just, for me, it's amazing. And what you can learn from different communities and cultures, and like all the things I'm learning here of being on the East Coast, it just builds, you know, and that's what it feels like. It's just layers upon layers upon layers upon layers of who knows what's going to be.
Right.
Or, I mean, there probably is no top, because there's always, progress to be made. We're always evolving and reinventing ourselves.
Talk about your love for people.
Well, I mean, you can learn so much about the world through somebody else's eyes, and probably the most impactful moments I had was a year ago when we sent 2 teams on different occasions to Texas for Hurricane Harvey relief. And here we are, we're going and we're thinking, oh, we're gonna go there, we're gonna bless this community, we're gonna help them rebuild, we're gonna do whatever they need. And we ended up learning so much from them in this time of like crisis and need. For me, I really saw what it was like to love your neighbor unconditionally. And here people are out of homes themselves, have nothing, but they're out here working on somebody else's house. Or, we're like, how can we help you? We're here, let us help you. You've done so much for this family or this community. And they're like, no, that's where you need to, don't worry about us, work on their home. And it just, wow, what a different world we would have if everybody thought like that, if everybody cared like that, if everybody loved like that. I mean, it shouldn't have to take natural disasters or those rock bottom moments or catastrophes for us to be shaken up and know that there's something much greater than what's going on around us, and that just always, that experience really just sticks with me, of really seeing how people love on each other, and their faith and so that's why we're trying to go back again next month, actually.
Great. So again, we hear the terms like love thy neighbor, but sometimes it takes a shake-up, like a disaster, to be in a situation where you could actually see someone in real life loving their neighbor, to be able to understand the term.
Right.
Right. I mean, like, that's how I feel. Like, there's so many of these cliches that we've been hearing our entire life, but they just seem to go in one ear and out the other for the most part. But something clicks, like your moment,
Right.
where now you know what that really means. And I feel the same way. And I think a lot of people are on the same path, where people want to do good.
Right.
People want to love. People want to help. Society puts this pressure on us in a lot of different ways, that we're supposed to do this or supposed to go that way. But the more people, I believe, that can find the strength internally to have first that self-love, to be able to take on, this type of adventure that you're on. You switched your career and everything to help others. And it's phenomenal. So all the lives that you're affecting and those lives, it's just, I think there's a lot of people onto this path, and I could only imagine how good you must feel for doing this work.
I think it's really doesn't have anything to do with me. Like, I'm not happy per se because of what I've accomplished, but more so, it's the things, it's the little things, like the event that I just left, of having somebody tell me, I'm inspired because of you to go after my dream that's been sitting in my heart for years. And then that dream ultimately has something to do with, impacting their community. Like, I need to make the world right. And for that makes me happy, because, I mean, really, for me, I feel like I'm not even doing anything.
Right, I was just going to say, it's like now you're just being. You're being
Yeah.
who you are, and who you're
Yes.
supposed to be.
Yes.
But just being is affecting others in such a great way.
Right,
Yeah.
right. You know, and it just blows me away. You know, and it's just like, what happened? I mean, like, what did I say? But it's just, you know, and I had this conversation with somebody at the event, and I said, well, you know, I hope that you don't just walk away and walk out of these doors, feeling motivated and inspired, but that when you go home, that this can sit with you, that this can marinate with you. Because I mean, the whole thing, I mean, like you said, we're society, like we're in these have-to moments of getting things done, going to work, you know, doing all the things, our obligations, our life obligations of what we think we need to be doing. That we suddenly forget there's dreams that die within us, you know. And so for me, I hope that, you know, that it's not just about that one moment of being motivated, but it's a lifetime of being self-inspired by your own self. Because we all have a story. We all have something that we can overcome and that we can conquer. And we all have a dream. And I truly believe that the world needs more of those dreams and those visions, because I think that's where the love is seated and rooted. Like, we all want to we all want to see the world a better place, but we just don't know how. And it's simple acts of kindness, where there's just, you know, even just something just so simple as smiling at somebody and saying, hi, how are you? You know, not that I, you know, dropped $1,000 in your lap or anything, but just that one little thing, that one little kind gesture, I truly believe can change the trajectory of somebody else's life. I mean, you never know, just a simple touch, a simple smile, one small kind word or just gratitude. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for being you. You never know if you just saved a life.
Right.
You know, you never know what they were feeling at that moment. And from there, I mean, you get somebody else feeling good, guess what? They're going to go and they're going to want to spread that joy.
Sure.
So it gets contagious, and it's
Yeah.
a ripple effect. You know, and it's just building on that and spreading that joy. And yeah, I mean, that's what I mean, and that's what I said. I said, you know, let's keep in contact, because I want to see what you do. So it's almost like a kind of, you know, let's be accountable to
That's
each other.
right. I was just going to say accountability, which is great.
Yeah.
As you're talking, I'm thinking about the word that kept coming to mind is being authentic. When we can be authentic and come into our own and be ourselves, it seems that's the best time that we're able to, again, serve. I don't mean that in a way where, you know, you have to be this person walking around all day, you know, opening doors for people, but just being kind, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Being courteous, calling someone that you may not have talked to in a while.
Right. Right. And not taking those moments for granted. You know, and you know, it's not just about showing that gratitude and that love and that kindness for strangers or for communities as a whole. I mean, you sit in a community, you live in a community at home, and making sure you're your
That's where it starts,
foundation,
right?
right, and it's a balance, you know. To be quite honest and transparent, like that's a work in progress for me, of, you know, where I'm constantly making sure that everybody else is okay, but, you know, making sure that I got to do that same thing at home also, and making sure that, you know, my family doesn't always have to sacrifice me for the greater good. You know, that I'm there for them also. It's a balance that, like, I mean, I don't know if you ever master the balance, but it's, you know, keeping those lines of communication open, and you know, I can't even say evenly distribute yourself to everybody, but knowing when it's the time is right. And you know when the time is, when you're like, okay, I just need to take some time and be with my family, unplug, and that for me, that's my refuel. That's where I get my strength. I'm able to love on other people. I'm able to spread my love throughout other communities and across the United States because I'm loved so heavily at home. Yeah. And I'm supported. I have a good support system at home.
What do people do that don't have that support system? You've mentioned that a couple of times now. And again, I'm just, I try to put myself in the shoes of those who might be listening that say, geez, I have nothing. I have no family. I have no support system. I have nothing.
It starts with you. It might feel like that and look like that on the outside because that's what's going on the inside. And, imagine what you're going to attract when all of a sudden you're the light, in the dark places, in your own dark places in life, and knowing that you don't need a tribe of 300 people or 30 or 13 people behind you, that you have your own back. Because honestly, at the end of the day, you're looking in the mirror at your own self. You got to live with yourself. I mean, it's a bonus. For me, it's a bonus that I have a supportive family that allows me and loves me to do what I feel like I'm called to do. But at the end of the day, if I don't have the love for myself, I can't expect not even the people that are closest to me to love myself and to support me. So it's you honest. Whatever's going on the outside is a reflection of what's going on the inside. And I mean, it's kind of like a gut check, and honestly, I've been, even with having a family at home and having a tight, good inner circle. If things weren't right for me in here and in here, they weren't right in my closest relationships. And so it's all, the external is all a reflection of what's going on internally.
And when you make that shift internally, I think people are very surprised how that shift affects everything else.
Yes. Like, just when you are a positive light, all of a sudden you start to, people gravitate. Not just people, opportunities right. And experiences just gravitate to you, and the doors just open, because you got to feel good, you got to be grateful when you think that you have very little to be grateful for. You got to be grateful in those moments, because how is the universe or how is God going to give you more if you can't even be grateful for the handful of things that you have?
I just came back from Charlotte and interviewed a gentleman, David Nagel. Mm-hmm. He has a podcast called the Successful Mind Podcast. And for the past 30 years, he's been studying the laws of the universe mm-hmm. and practicing them and teaching them. And I really enjoy listening to him and if you have a chance, if you haven't heard of him, please listen to him if you get a chance, because everything you're talking about in this entire conversation, he talks about that they're laws. It's just right. like gravity. Something right. that goes up always comes down. Right. It's inflexible.
Right.
So when you could change your mindset and open yourself up, like you said, it's not only relationships, it's opportunities. The floodgates are open.
Right. Right. I mean, the law of attraction, right? It's what you put out there, you get. And that's why so many people complain and they're negative, and it's like, or they say, there's just this dark cloud hanging over me, I can't catch a break. And it's because you're putting it out there. I'm a big person on affirmations, and it's just retraining that mind and that mindset of being mentally tough and telling yourself that. I mean, I think this goes back to what we were just talking about everything starts within. Like, you have to be your own cheerleader. You got to be the loudest voice in your head sometimes of telling yourself that everything's going to be okay, that this, I am going to succeed. I'm going to make things happen. I have everything that I need. I'm grateful for this. And then you just start to vibrate at a different frequency in life, and you start to attract those things. So, I mean, when you're at a low point in your life and you're just like, woe is me, you're playing the victim, of course, you're going to start attracting more and more stuff. That's why, I got this, a rock hit my windshield. I rolled over some nails. I got flat tires. And wow, this has been like the worst day. And sometimes we wait until okay, well, tomorrow's going to be a better day. Now, why not? Can it be today? Right now can be a better day. It's just changing your perspective. And I mean, I'm still guilty of oh man, down on my luck, but it's catching yourself quicker and not letting yourself sit in those pity moments. Instead, you should be celebrating everything you have. There's always something to be grateful for. And you got to find it, even if it's just in the small little things. I'm grateful for this breath of fresh air I'm grateful that I have 2 legs to walk. We forget that some of the things that we have that we take for granted, people are praying for, and it's putting that all into perspective. I don't know, for me, I always say, don't ever say things could be worse. Because then you're putting it out there, things could be worse.
Wow. So affirmations, you're a big believer.
I am.
And for people who don't know about them, what's the best way to start? Writing them down, maybe your top 10?
Yeah, I mean, or even top 5. You don't even have to, just start somewhere. But it's got to be something that you believe. They can't be extravagant. I mean, too big.
Sure.
Where it's got to be something that your mind can conceive. I am a millionaire. And if it's I mean, if you got -$5 in the bank account, for you saying that, I mean, subconsciously in your head, you're already thinking I mean, really?
Right.
Whereas
the affirmation could be something okay,
I'm attracting money. I am attracting opportunities to bring in wealth or prosperity. It's got to be things that you believe. It's just retraining your mind in those thought processes that want to take over. Naturally, we want to be hard on ourselves. Naturally, we want to be our hardest critic. But it's catching ourselves and, writing them down. What are the top 5 things that, maybe I need to work on, or the strengths that I want to build on, and then posting it somewhere. If you look in my room, I have all these Post-it notes everywhere, around my desk, and then on the side of my bed where I wake up, or little scriptures or prayers. It's because those are the common areas that I always go. So it's always retraining my brain of reading those things. If you don't have the environment, you got to create it. So if I'm not going to have somebody coming in and telling me, "You're great, you're amazing," I gotta create it.
Yes.
And we all have the power to create the life that we want. We gotta know it.
Yeah. I don't know if you ever heard of Earl Nightingale, and if you ever listened to The Strangest Secret. He put this out back in late 1950s, and back then it was a record, so it was side 1 and side 2, and basically what he was talking about is we become what we think about.
Right.
And again, the things you just talked about, writing them down.
Right.
Reinforcing every day in your mind, saying it aloud.
Right.
Because we can retrain our brains.
Right.
We can retrain our thinking.
Yes.
And it's great. And it's almost like the 21-day challenge. This is like a 30-day
Right.
exercise. For 30 days, look at this message, what you want to do and
Right.
become, and live it and breathe it. But like you said, really believe it.
Yeah. Well, and it starts with your thoughts, because once you can at least just kind of get your mind wrapped around that possibility, it starts creating actions. You get your thoughts, and you start to manifest it into beliefs, and then you start doing all the right things to get you there. And then pretty soon you're like, whoa, when did that happen? Because it started up here first. And that's what I mean by, like, you can create it. You can create it. It's almost insane about how much power we can have over what we do and what we create in our lives.
Yeah, and you say the word create. That is one of my favorite words, because this David Nagel again mentioned, there's a documentary out by John Mellencamp, the singer, and it's awesome. I highly recommend watching it. But he basically talks about, he created his own environment, and he lives life the way he wants to live it. And that's how, because he had a passion and a purpose. He says, I wasn't the best singer,
Right.
but I just put myself in the best environment. I created my own environment to get there. So I highly recommend that as well.
Yeah, I mean, a great example is something that just happened to me recently. So I had this great opportunity. See how much I can. So I guess I can probably talk about it openly now, but kind of a job opportunity. And for some reason, when I first found out about this organization, so it's actually another nonprofit organization, I really fell in love with the mission and the vision behind it, just as much as our own nonprofit organization. And I remember going home after meeting with somebody who was part of this organization and thinking, there's a future for me here. I don't know maybe it's these two organizations coming together. Maybe it's just me volunteering and helping out, but I don't know. I just felt it. There's a future for me there. A couple of months go by. I mean, I volunteer for the organization, keep in touch with them. Speaking with somebody from the organization, and I said, hey, are you guys hiring? Are you guys looking to expand? And yes, great. Got an interview, had this job opportunity presented to me, and everything was great. I was like, wow, that was, and that tug in my heart was like, I didn't want to ask. I did not want to ask. I was just like, okay, if they, they know me. If there's an open position or whatever, they'll ask me. But this tug, as this conversation was going on, it was just like, ask. And I was like, okay, fine, I'll ask. And then, oh, yes, there were. Yeah. So anyway, 2 weeks later, I get a phone call that says the opportunity isn't going to happen. And I was like, okay. And I was like, well, that was weird. Like, why would all of this happen? Like, the way the meeting gone, and for me asking, like, also I was asking, I was like, why would you have me ask? Why would that tug be at my heart, God, if it wasn't meant to happen? So a couple days after that phone call, I said, okay, it's not going to happen. They were checking up on me. Are you okay? And I said, yeah, but you know what? I go, I know, I hear what you're saying, but for me, I just believe that there's still a future for me here. I don't know what it is, but for me, I'm going with that. I'm declaring that, I'm calling it out. There's a future for me here. I don't know what it is or why I feel that way, but I feel that this is not the end. And it was almost like the next remark was kind of like closing that, like it should have, for me, like basically they said, well, we'll be sure to let you know, and of course we'll recommend you. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I mean, but it's still, it was in my heart. I was like, no, I think this is going to happen. A month, maybe more than a month later, goes around, almost 2 months. I get an email presenting the opportunity again, and and now it's confirmed, it's secure, it's on its all well underway. But it's just that of me putting out there. Like, I could have easily retreated and been like, wow, okay, yeah, that's not going to happen.
So did it happen?
It did happen.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Just more on my plate, Oh,
that's great. But that's great.
But yeah.
And John Mellencamp said the same thing. Like, he says, I'm going after it. He says, I don't care if it's a tire on the side of the road that is there and I want it. I'm going to get it.
Yeah.
It's mine for the taking.
Right.
So that's what he's saying, is just don't be afraid.
Right.
Don't be afraid to go after something that you really believe in.
Right.
And it's so great to hear a real life example of that.
Yeah. I mean, and it kind of ties in with the affirmations of what are you telling yourself?
Right.
And declaring it out into the universe, and declaring it to God, this is going to happen. Having that faith, of that unwavering, unshakable faith of I just feel it. This is going to happen. It doesn't matter what anybody else says or what it looks like on the outside. I'm not seeing things with my physical eyes. I'm seeing things with my spiritual eyes, and my faith is this is telling me this is going to happen.
That's awesome. So the age-old question, why are we here? What is human life? What's our purpose? Like, why are we here as a species? What is it? Do you ever think about it?
Yeah. I mean, and I think that for me, it's really just, it's to find a purpose and higher calling. And usually, and what I think that purpose and higher calling, it's leading people to really care about other people. It's us taking care of one another, and spreading that love amongst each other, teaching each other, learning from each other, evolving with each other, reinventing ourselves, our lives together, and all those connections of intertwining of experiences and relationships. It's just, I mean, when you think about it, like, that just, for me, it just makes me excited of, really a sense of community. And I'm not just talking about the community of just the city. It's a community of the world coming together. I mean, I have good friends that have an organization called Come Unity. They play on word of community, and really just bringing people together in unity.
Wow. Yeah, and don't you feel that we're put here to get to that higher level of consciousness, to prepare us for what's to come?
Right.
And that's what I think about. Like, yes, all those things you mentioned, for sure. But then I think about, okay, where are we going?
I mean, for me, like, I think this is a big revelation just recently in my life, of realizing that, my life really isn't about me or my life. I mean, yes, I have to go through experiences, I have to go through things, and, but it really has nothing to do with me. It really has.
That's so awesome.
I mean, it's kind of like what you're doing with American Real, of giving everybody a voice, and really seeing into the real lives of people. It's the same thing. I feel like, yeah, I live, yeah, I go through things, but really my life isn't about me. It's about what I'm learning to affect the lives of other people, and not just right now at this time, or 5 years, 10 years, but what is the legacy I'm leaving? And you know, you have to always think forward. You know, it's just like you just can't think about what's going to happen today. Like what is it going to be? Am I going to leave not only the world a better place, but you know, making sure that you're leaving a room a better place, making sure you're leaving a friendship, a connection. Make sure I'm leaving you a better. You know, is what value can I add to your life that it's going to spark that you're going to want to do something greater in the world. You know, and when you think about it, like, wow, you know, everything you're going through, or everything you've gone through in life really has nothing to do with you. It's about what all of those experiences are doing for other people as they see you live and see you go through things and then rise above everything that you've been through.
It's so true. If you think about nature, if you think about birds or fish or whatever it may be, it's, you know, it's their community. You know, everyone's working together.
Right.
You know, the human species is really the only species that's not really
right. Unified.
Unified.
Right.
But it's people like you and me, we're trying to pull them together. And,
yes.
And I believe that it will win out.
Mm-hmm.
It will. It's going to take time. But there's a lot of strength in numbers.
Right.
And you know, it's in progress. That's
right.
how I feel.
Right. And it's, you know, it's the collaborations, right? We're been raised and taught to compete against each other all the time, you know, and then you add this element of social media and you know, it can either be good or it can work against you, of where you're constantly competing or feeling like you have to compare yourself to other people. When you don't, you have your own unique gifts that make you who you are and what you're supposed to do in life. And so when you join all of those unique gifts and talents and you collaborate with one another, I mean, even like this, you never know what spark it's going to ignite, or what the ripple effect. Like, I'm sure interviews that you've done a year ago when you first started are going to have a lasting effect. I mean, somebody may watch one of those interviews 5 years from now, and that was the interview that changed their life. You know, and it's knowing that, okay, I might not see it now, but you know what? I'm going to go across this world and I'm just going to throw seeds, you know, and I'm going to plant seeds. And it's going to take time, nurturing, just, you know, like when you plant anything of love, water, light, and then it will bloom in time.
So for people that don't know about you, what's next? What can we expect to see from you in the future? Anything exciting on the horizon?
I feel like that's a loaded question. I mean, because I feel like I go day by day.
And that's okay too.
Yeah,
that's
of like,
fine.
you
Sure.
know, okay, where are you going to take me, God? What do you want me to do?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like I said, I didn't have, I mean, 6 months ago, 7 months ago, I didn't think that I would have another opportunity to work with so closely with another nonprofit organization. And it just happens, you know. For me, it's just constant, everyday, daily surrender of what I think I should be doing, what my plans for my life is, and being able to be okay with being obedient and knowing that things that I may have planned out may not be for my purpose, and being okay with that, you know. And so that's why, you know, I mean, of course I do have, not to say I walk aimlessly around without any goals
Sure.
or anything, but I think I'm just like in the season of like, wow, that was such a surprise. I didn't see that coming, but I'm just, it makes me excited to see. I would have never guessed that, I mean, of coming here to the East Coast. It was always kind of like a dream. Like, I always want to see New York. I want to go to, New York. And here it is, this amazing opportunity happened.
It's awesome.
So I'm just open to receiving and knowing that, like, as long as I stay centered and I keep, for me, the one thing, and, I'm constantly just making sure that I'm taking care of myself and just being prepared. I don't know where life is going to take me or what's the next purpose calling, but I'm going to be ready, and I'm going to be open to following.
Well, I feel, some really good energy here. I don't know if I see like a book or something from you, but that's kind of what I was just kind of thinking about. Like, maybe there's something, and maybe there's nothing at this moment, but I feel it. I feel good things.
That's funny that you say that, because I just had that conversation a couple weeks ago with my daughter, and she was like, she's like, Mom, I think I want to write a book. And I go, so do I. And I was like, we should write a book together, but who knows? I mean, the one thing that I really, has really been on my heart last year is building this public speaking circuit of, almost doing kind of like a live American reel of giving people in the community, people that we know like the big names and the big heroes, but knowing that there are small town heroes and stories and testimonies that have a huge, big impact to change lives, and giving people the voice and a platform, and making them feel confident. Which is probably why you do American Reel too. It's because when people can get out of their shell and learn that they have a message, a powerful message to deliver to the world, and that should be heard, and giving them this, empowering them to use their voice and their stories and their experiences. Like, it just brings something out of them, like this just confidence and courage, and really to conquer whatever it is else that they may want to put their mind to.
Yeah. No, and that's why our tagline is everyone has a story, because they really do. I believe that. And I see that every time I sit down with someone, every time I see a post on the Live Tribe. It's people being authentic, having these open conversations that we teach each other.
Yes.
And then those that are watching, hopefully they're getting something from it as well.
Right.
Well, this has been awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for spending the time. I feel like we could talk for another couple of hours, but I know you're on a tight schedule. But before I let you go, you mentioned legacy earlier, and that's a question that I always like to ask everyone at the end, because it's something I'm curious about. Like, do people think about their legacy? And Candice, what do you want your legacy to be?
I mean, for me, what I want to teach and instill into my kids, and really the world, is just that selflessness, and stop thinking that everything is about you, or that everything has to be for your gain. It doesn't always have to surfacely be like that. That sometimes your gain is coming from others people's gains. And like I said, like I told a story of what I witnessed in Texas during Hurricane Harvey. Is that the world would be so different. Everybody's lives would be so different if they constantly put others first, where they selflessly gave and understood that, when you give, you don't expect anything in return, but really you're going to be expecting greater blessings because you're thinking about others. It's just the road to success, or the road to the top, isn't meant to be a solo run. It's successes are just greater when it's shared. Who says I'm going to go to a party and it's just me? We want to celebrate all together, right? The company, the connections, people.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This has been a pleasure, and I appreciate you making the trip and the effort to be here.
Oh.
And we'll see a lot more from you.
Yes, and like I said, thank you for everything that you do for the world, and letting everybody have their voice and supporting everybody the way that you do. So happy 1-year anniversary.
Thank you.
I know I'm a month late, but I mean, there's only bigger, better things for you.
Thank you. We're all in it together.
Yes.
Thanks
Yes.
so much.
If you're interested in starting your own podcast, join me in Podcast Your Passion. I'll take you through my 8-week course where I'll mentor you to build a world-class podcast. I'm only taking on a small group of people who want to share their passion through broadcasting, where I'll have you up on iTunes and YouTube within weeks so you can podcast your passion. Click on the link below for more information.